Okay, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully it should be about an hour, I think. Quick introduction. So I'm David Wright, head teacher. Next to me is...
Nicola, I'm assistant head teacher.
And Nick essentially is in charge of all the testing, so if it goes wrong, it's her fault. We just wanted to have an opportunity really just to go through and take any questions from you. Hopefully we've given you an awful lot of detail. Possibly too much, you might say, but what we're trying to do is give you as much information to make it easier and hopefully allay any fears for obviously the return, because I mean, no doubt there'll be a few that are going to be slightly concerned about coming back in. What we will be doing tomorrow, I'll be sharing the risk assessment tomorrow, slightly updated. The two big changes, one is the whole testing process. We're more than happy to go through that again, but you have had the letters. And the other big issue is the wearing of the plain face coverings in classrooms. Now, some people aren't too happy about that. Well, it's a safety measure. And obviously, if Professor Chris Whitty and Sage and what have you, the Chief Medical Officer, if they say it's a good thing to do and to keep us safe, then who am I to really go again with a strong recommendation from the scientists and the government? Obviously, there are exemptions, not a problem, just to make sure you give us the appropriate paperwork to say that you're exempt, then that's absolutely fine. Then we obviously put that into place as well. So they're the two big changes, really. Other than that, what Ms. White is currently working on is another welcome back video. You've probably seen the first one. I think it went viral, actually, the first one. Very good. So we're just making it clear for our youngsters when they do return, this is how the building's going to look. It's not changed a great deal because the one-way systems, they're going straight into class, a slightly staggered start, the cleaning of equipment and things like that. They're the same, but we're very conscious that, of course, they haven't been here for quite some time. So we're just trying to make sure we give them everything they need to make it as easy and hopefully not as worrying as perhaps it could be. So we are here to take any questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to just tell you really bad jokes, quite frankly. Forgive me if I keep looking away, because in the chat to my right, I've got a screen there, and what comes up are the questions. So we're happy to go through, obviously, a great deal of things. What I don't want to do is waste anybody's time. I don't want to repeat things that you already know, because that's not fair. I believe Burnley are playing the television at the moment. I'm sure they're having a wonderful game. But of course, we want to give you everything you need, but not waste your time. So Nick, I don't know whether you've got anything that you want to open up with at all. I'll just keep an eye on the chat.
Yeah, no problem. I'll just start really with talking about the testing process. So as you're probably aware, the government have asked or recommended that all pupils on their return to school have 3 lateral flow tests, which are carried out on site. We are lucky enough to have our own Woodlands testing centre, and I do want to say thank you, because we have had volunteers from our local community who have been working without pay since the beginning of January, testing the pupils that have been on site. So we have had quite a lot of practice in obviously conducting these lateral flow tests, and then obviously we're going to upscale that over the next couple of weeks to ensure that all of our pupils who have got parental consent have those 3 tests when they come back to school, and to help with their induction back to school. Now, the way it will work is next week we have allocated 1 day per year group to have their initial test. And what we've asked for is that pupils come in at an allocated time on that day. So we've got year 11s who will be coming in on Monday, year 10s will be coming in on Tuesday, year 9s on Wednesday, year 8s on Thursday, and year 7s on Friday. Now, we have kept it that way because it means that they're kept in their year group bubbles, but we are asking on that first test they come in at an allocated time. So that means that they're not going to come onto school site before they've had that test. And over the next couple of days, for every pupil for which we have parental consent, you will receive a text message from School Cloud stating what time that appointment is. Once they've had that test, the following day they will be returning to school in full school uniform, ready to obviously return to their normal timetable. And then thereafter, for their second and third tests, they will have the same day, they will have the same time, but obviously they won't have to wait until that time in the day to return. So year 11, they'll have their first appointment on Monday at an allocated time, and then for the following 2 Mondays, they will have their second and their third test at the same time, but they won't have to wait until that point in the day to attend school. But obviously they'll be in a full school uniform at that time. A few parents have already asked if they can change the times for their pupils' appointments next week. Unfortunately, we haven't really got the flexibility to do that. We're an awfully big school, so we've got 1,600 tests to process next week. So there isn't a lot of flexibility with regards to moving those times around. If there are any real severe issues, please feel free to contact me at nwh@woodlandschool.essex.sch.uk for the email address.
That's the one.
That's the one. And we will see if there is anything we can do, but it is really, really difficult, and it is a bit of a logistical nightmare to try to organise that many appointments in the space of 1 week. With regards to the lateral flow test, the way it will work is the pupil will go to the testing centre. They will have to swab, and we have got trained professionals over there ready to give that guidance. The tests are all pupils do them on themselves, so they're self-administered. But as I said, there are people over there who they know and some volunteers to give them the guidance of how to do it. They need to swab at each tonsil for 15 seconds, and then they pop it up their nose for 10 seconds, and then they can leave the testing centre. What will happen as parents is you will receive the result of that test. It will go to the primary parent contact that we hold on our system, and it will go to the primary contact telephone number. We will try to process those results as quickly as we can, but as you will appreciate, we will have a number of tests that we're doing kind of every 5 minutes, but it will be with you probably within 1 to 2 hours after the test is carried out. Obviously, if there are any positive tests, we will notify you immediately, so you won't have to wait. We will notify you immediately because obviously that pupil will then have to self-isolate and will have to go home. The text that you will receive ordinarily, though, will come from the NHS, so it won't be a Woodlands school text, it will be from the NHS, and it will obviously confirm the result of that test. What else can you talk about?
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. I mean, we're not being awkward by saying, don't go and get away in the community. Well, we were offered mass community testing, so my daughter's school was a bit out of area. And it took us quite some time to actually go and book it. It was very faffy. We are trying to make it as easy as we possibly can. The only downside to this is it's going to be disruptive to education. Once we get to the other side of Easter, we'll be writing more about this. We still have to be testing, but it's once every few weeks, essentially, that we'll be using up a period of 5. We don't physically test, we give out the kits to be tested at home. That still has a negative impact on the learning, and we still have to register those, and it's quite a process. So we want to set something up that we know how it's going to work, and we know and we trust the people that have volunteered to help us out. It's going to be fantastic, and the extra staff that I've redeployed, we know that it's working. So rather than make it onerous for you as parents and carers, rather than stress you out, we'd much rather do it ourselves and make it easier for you. But it is quite a process. I mean, to actually set up a testing centre from scratch is no mean feat. Nick has been in charge of that and been running that, and the people over there have been absolutely amazing. We're very, very grateful for that. But we're obviously here to allay any fears. It is going to work if you ask us questions. Otherwise, we are just going to waffle on and potentially waste your time. So please do put something in the chat, because we are here for you. And we just want to make sure that we give you the right information in the right way, essentially. But so go on.
A few parents have asked if they can have the home test straight away, so that the pupils haven't got to have it on site. Unfortunately not. The government are not actually going to send us, though we haven't got them on site, they're not going to send us the home kits until the pupils have had their 3 on-site tests. So we unfortunately can't do that at this stage. As soon as though that 3rd test is done, we will have had the delivery to be able to issue the home kits, but at the moment we haven't got them to distribute.
Our first couple of questions in, thank you very much. So we've got, when will I get a text about my daughter's time for her COVID test on Wednesday?
So year 11 should be done tonight, as should year 10. We're working to try and do year 9, 8 and 7 either tomorrow or Friday. And the system we use means you have to individually input all 1,600 on. So it's just taken us a little bit of time. And obviously we were just waiting for parents to give consent before we had that finalised list. So we consent was in by yesterday morning, so we've just been turning that around. So it will be with you in the next couple of days.
Lovely, thanks. And that one there, will the home test be for the whole household or just a child?
In terms of what we're being delivered as a school, it will only be for the child. The government are advising that the household get tested, but you need to go to an official COVID test centre to pick them up, or you can order them online.
I sent a letter out today actually that came from the local authority across all schools in Essex. So I sent it out sometime this afternoon, this morning, whichever it went out. So there's a link you can click on there, but these are only for our youngsters.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's good.
But when we get to the home test, just on that, we will be issuing guidance, because in an ideal world, if you could test on a Monday and Thursday, the test needs to be reported to the school. So in an ideal world, they've got to be tested twice every week. We obviously will, Mr. Wright, will write to you with more details of this, but we were suggesting doing it on a Monday and a Thursday, so they're tested at regular points throughout the week. But as I said, more information will follow on that once we receive the tests.
Yeah. Hopefully that's helped, and the brave two that you are offering the questions up. So hopefully that's come back. If not, I was going to say that we know there's going to be some anxiety about returning. I've had some various email correspondence, should we say, backwards and forwards. That's what we're here for. But a couple of concerns, if you like, that we raised. Not everybody has given consent for testing. Now, we can't force anybody to have the test. That is down to personal choice. Some have said, well, does that mean that there could potentially be people that haven't had the test mixing with those that have had the test? Well, yes, is the honest answer. Because what I can't do is deny anybody an education, and I can't stick all the kids together that haven't had the tests and re-timetable the whole school, because that wouldn't ultimately work, and it would impact even more negatively on education than we currently are experiencing at the moment. That's not ideal, but it's down to personal choice. I mean, that's down to everyone has to make a decision about the vaccine as well. Some people are saying, I don't really want it, I don't trust it. Well, that's personal choice. The government aren't going to put any legislation in place to force people legally to have these things. Then that is down to your own preference. Same, there will be some that are exempt with the plain face coverings as well. What I've been advising staff, because all the letters that go out to you, and I give staff quite a lot of updates as well, is just look after yourself as far as you can. So if you are not exempt, keep wearing that plain face mask in the class. Keep 2 meters away as you can, moving it around the school as best you can. But it's really just a bit of common sense and be sensible with it, because I think once the youngsters are back, they'll be quite excited, and there might be a few arms around the shoulders, all the rest of it, which we don't particularly appreciate. But we get that some are nervous, and we get that some are very excited. Personally, I'm incredibly excited, but that's my nature, same as yours, Nick. Mm-hmm. What will happen if my child refuses to have the test done? Then we won't give them the test. We won't be holding them down with a foot on the throat or anything like that, and shoving it up their nose and their tonsils. There are people there on hand to support. The idea is that because they're of secondary school age, and the government says, well, they should be able to administer it themselves. But if they genuinely are struggling, we will offer support. We may have to have a backup time, and we don't want to be stressing about youngsters or anything like that. That's the last thing we want to do. We just want to make them safe. So nobody will be having a go at them or anything like that. They just need to communicate and say, I don't fancy this, I'm really struggling. Then we'll help them out. And if it means another time come back, then so be it. And we need to let you know, I think probably through the heads of year or something like that, to let you know that there's been a bit of an issue. We'll look after them, but we try to make sure they're safe. So I'm sure there'll be a few wobbles. Personally, I absolutely hate it with a passion. I know my youngsters have to do it as well. I've got one at secondary school age, and the others are 9 and 8, and they're not particularly happy when I saw my wife, trying to administer it for them. But it's not a nice thing to do, but it is an extra safety measure. That's what we're about. And it is actually worth mentioning, and we will show you when we produce our welcome back video. The booths are quite isolated, so the pupils won't necessarily be watched by their peers as they do that, because I know that's what sometimes young people are concerned about. They are quite private, and we were lucky really to be able to have the facilities to be able to set it up. It is essentially like a walk-in test centre over there, isn't it? It is. It's really professional. We just converted our construction area, which has booths anyway for the tiling, for the painting. So it's big enough, but there's enough for 10 at a time, basically, isn't it? So no, we're very fortunate with that one. We're very fortunate. And we have, as we said, Mr. Wright said, we have built flexibility. So if someone can't do it in the first instance, we have got a little bit of flexibility to be able to put them in to come in at a later point. Although we have been testing all of the pupils who have been in school, and actually the pupils have reacted really well to it. I think once the initial test is done, they've done it for the first time, they realise it's not quite as frightening as they first thought, and then they become fine with it, don't they? Yeah, I think we're up to probably about 13 or 1400 tests that we've done now, something like that. We're averaging sort of 110, 111 a day, and they just get on with the test and seem to cope with it quite well. Right, so going, can my daughter just do the test up her nose? Well, the advice that we've got is up the nose and the back of the throat as well. If you were to do it up the nose, you may not get as good an outcome. It may not be as accurate, and that's the advice that we've got. Although I know there's various people that work at NHS and they say, oh, we've just been doing it on the nose. Well, the advice that we've got for accuracy is back of the throat and then whack it up your nose. That's right, Nick, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what the NHS have, that's the guidance that the NHS have given. The comment about, will the test be done during the day on Wednesday for year 9 as my daughter has a dentist appointment? Yes, all year 9 will be done on Wednesday. What we do, we have block booked them according to tutor groups, so they will be given a time. However, if they really cannot make it, if you contact me, we've got a little bit of flexibility the following day, for anyone who, for whatever reason, dentist appointment, we've got a little bit of flexibility where we can book them in the next day. But if that is the case, if you can just email us nwh@woodlandsschool.essex.sch.uk, I remembered it that time, and then I can make a note of that. It will just mean that they'll be tested earlier on the Thursday. Yeah,
it's probably, you probably go to the dentist at 2:30. Thanks so much. So just one there about the GPs. It does depend on your GP. Don't worry too much about that. I think with regards to face masks and exemptions and what have you, if you just give us a note to say they're exempt, then that's good enough. But what we don't want to do is make it awkward for you. We know doctors, you may get different answers depending on who your GP is. That's what I find anyway. So if you give us a note to say they're exempt, and that would be obviously signed by you and dated, that will go to the head of year. So we would keep a list of those that are exempt. So we're not constantly asking youngsters, and all the youngsters need to do is go, oh, you haven't got your mask on? No, great, lovely, you're exempt, thanks so much, I can see that, away you go. But they should prepare themselves for being stopped because staff are checking they're okay. What we're trying to prevent is those that just don't fancy wearing a mask because it doesn't look cool. Well, they don't look cool, quite frankly. So I've asked for a plain one to not be distracting, and so we all look the same. We're trying to wheedle those ones out that basically try it on. It is going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to be perfect, but they are going to review it at Easter. So we're going to have to see where we end up to there. I'm not overly concerned with the youngsters in some respects, because quite a few of them don't feel the ill effects. I'm very concerned about the staff, because effectively, if my member of teaching staff is teaching 5 lessons a day, could come into contact with 150 pupils in close contact. So I need to be looking after them. If they contract it, there's no teacher. Worst case scenario is they would fall very much ill with this and worse. So I need to be putting safety measures to look after the people that I'm looking after, I employ, as well as your youngsters. Well, that one there, Nick, about the link was lost. We said something about it in the frequently answered questions, didn't we?
I don't know. I don't know if the parent means the link to the live Q&A rather than the link to the consent.
It's still on the Q&A.
No, I think because she's asked if she's missed it already. If you've already answered this, can I do the test at home if I have a kit already?
No.
We're recommending ideally that you use the school kit because the school testing centre, because the government have asked that we give that advice to pupils for the first 3 tests. It also means, because we have to register the tests we give to the pupils, it means that we have control of the responses, who's positive and who's negative, and we can then obviously make the arrangements accordingly. Even when we have the home test, we have to register them as a school, and we have to register the results in. So we are asking if you can use the school service at the moment, because obviously that means that we've got greater control on the cases in our community, and we can take the action on the back of that.
Yeah, we just want to do it properly, basically. With regards to you both working at home and it should a child test positive, what we would do, we would hold them in an area, basically. Somewhere nice and airy. If it's warm enough, we'll put them outside and put a coat on them or what have you, and then until somebody can arrive. So there'll be member of staff that would wait with them, obviously socially distanced, both masked up, and potentially we will go down to a 3rd contact, but we would try and notify you as soon as the tests come out. On average, it takes about half an hour, but it depends, of course, how many that we're testing at once. So it's not hard and fast rule, half hour, that's it, you'll be notified there and then. It depends how long it takes for a test to actually come through.
Yeah, and actually just to confirm, so if someone does test positive, we will call you as soon as possible. So that probably would be certainly within 45 minutes. If it's negative, it may take slightly longer to come through because we have to upload them all to the NHS system. So it may be an hour or 2 before you get that negative result. But please rest assured, if it's positive, we do have an action plan within the school and the process to follow. So you will be alerted pretty much immediately as soon as we get that positive case. No,
that's it. We don't want to cause any anxiety. We need to get the results relatively quickly, but it does depend on how quickly the test physically works. We don't want to alarm anybody. We've had a few positive cases, haven't we? Yeah, not since we've come back. I think we've had 1 actually, and the lad, and I wrote to you about that, he was in that in 15 minutes. but that was straight after Christmas. So we've been quite fortunate in that respect. We are going to get more cases. It's obvious. If you test more people, you're going to get more cases. I mean, it's a no-brainer, quite frankly. And everybody will go, oh, we shouldn't send the kids back to school and everything else. Well, we are going back. The decision has been made, and we just have to make the very best of it, because personally, I'm incredibly excited about being back. With regards to giving any of our youngsters extra help, not a problem at all. We will be on hand to help where we can. Absolutely. There'll be a few friendly faces over there. There's nothing to worry about, and we'll do all we can. We know this isn't going to be a fantastically enjoyable experience, much like watching Tottenham. But what we will be doing is trying to offer as much support as we possibly can to make it a bearable safety measure that we put in place then. So
Go on. I was just going to say, a few parents have asked about whether, if their child or if they've tested positive previously, if they are to take another test. Now, I know a lot of people who had tested positive previously received guidance from the NHS which said not to test for 90 days. I contacted the Department for Education on this the other day, and I've got to be honest with you, the guidance is ambiguous, to say the least.
That's because they're useless.
Essentially, it is true that on a lateral flow test there can be false positive results, but equally it's also possible that you can contract the virus for a second time and be transmissible. Now, we have tried to contact all of the families that we are aware of had COVID to explain this to them. What we've decided as a school, to ensure the safety of our community, for any pupil who has been given parental consent, if they've had COVID and they have a test in school and they test positive, we will obviously carry out the process. We will get them on off-site as we would normally. You are encouraged with all lateral flow tests to get a PCR. So that's one of the official ones that get sent to the official labs that you book online as quickly as you can. And actually, I think you can often book them on the same day, and the results are coming back very quickly. If that tests positive as well, we will say that that pupil has to self-isolate, because whilst, yes, it might be a false positive, equally that person could have the virus and be spreading it amongst the school community. So for safety, we're feeling we're better to go down that route.
Yeah, it's not ideal. We're a bit confused why the information is ambiguous, because it should be relatively clear that the virus has been around for almost a year now, or probably longer than a year, so we thought they would know a bit more. So they're very much throwing it back on the schools. And we always err on the side of caution. We're not going to say, oh, you made it before, it's a false positive, just get on with it. That's the irresponsible thing to do. And then safety is paramount. So that's where we are on that one.
And actually, just to reassure you slightly, as you said, we've done about 1,200, I think, tests now, and we have tested people who have tested positive for COVID, and we haven't had a single false positive. That's not to say we won't have one moving forward, but our experience to date, we haven't had any false positives.
So we can just base it on that, can't we?
Yeah.
No, thanks, Nick. With regards to the GCSE question there, so the grades have to be submitted by the 18th of June. What we're working with the local authority at the moment, because there is always every year a date by which the year 11s are legally allowed to leave school. So we've gone back to the local authority and said, well, when is it that now can we bring it forwards? Because I think normally it's the 25th or 26th of June. And we've asked the question and nobody knows. So we're waiting for that, because obviously what we don't want to be in a position is holding on to our youngsters for any length of time without giving them something worthwhile to do. We will, of course, make it as worthwhile as possible, absolutely. We're slightly off topic here. But obviously, once we know, then I will let you know. At the moment, they've not come back to us. They don't know. I don't think they've thought particularly that far ahead. So as soon as we know when the year 11 leaving date will officially be, then I will write to you and I will let you know. But at the moment, there's nothing to tell you because no one's given us an answer. So that's where we are on that one. Please do keep the questions coming. So I'm constantly looking to the right to see if anything new is popping out there. I've got no issue at all if you've got your answer and happy to sort of leave and I don't know, do whatever it is you do at this time on a Wednesday night. I don't know, but we won't be offended. But of course, we are trying to make sure we give you as much as we possibly can.
Something just to note, if you've changed your telephone number, can you please let the school know? Because as we said, we will be the NHS, the information we upload to the NHS system will use the mobile number that we've got on our system. So if that number is incorrect, you will not receive the result. So if you're aware of any changes in number, can you please let us know so we can update our records accordingly and ensure the result is sent correctly?
Yeah, no, we're just trying to get everything in place, basically. I mean, when the youngsters do come back and say it's business as usual in many respects, it's still going to following the same timetable with the same staggered start as we go along. Once they're all back, and they'll all officially be back, even the year 7s from obviously the 15th, the week after next, because we're sort of testing, sending home, and coming back. So we try to do it in a way that we think is the safest. I know some schools have been testing this week and then throwing them all back in on Monday. I don't think that's the right thing to do. So we want to make sure that it's staggered again, that hopefully there's a gradual increase of people that are in the building throughout the course of that week. So that's the right thing to do. With regards to live lessons, there won't be any live lessons next week, Monday and Tuesday, 8th or 9th. And I have said that. The reason for that is to give staff a chance to get back into the building, to be familiarise themselves with what's happening next. And we can go through any safety measures with them. We can make sure that the staff are okay, because some of them haven't been out of the house, I would imagine, like some of you, for a long time. So I need to look after them. I've got a duty of care for them as much as I have for your youngsters, of course. So we need a couple of days to get things sorted. Plus, we've got to sort things out, like the year 11 exams, make sure that process is sorted out and everyone's pretty au fait with it. And there'll be lots of other things that we need to make sure that all the fears are allayed and we can just get on with the business of educating our youngsters as best as we possibly can. So we're getting there. It's going to take some time. Obviously, there'll be some changes throughout the summer term as well, but we are waiting for additional guidance as we go along. And I think, of course, once we've had the 3 tests, it'll be 3 weeks and it'll be 2 weeks for Easter. So again, I think by then the government will have some data to look at and make a decision about, okay, we can now go ahead and do this, or we can now say there's no need to wear the face mask in the classroom from Easter. But as with everything, as old Boris says, we'll be guided by the science, as he likes to say, that one. So is our mate Gav too. So it's just a case of waiting and see. But we will keep you informed of what we'll be doing. But yeah, the main thing is that we look after each other. And I keep saying to staff as well, you need to look after yourselves and each other. You can't be sort of so pleased to see each other that you're getting close. Stay away from each other. You know, you can smile with your eyes. You know, it's not a problem. But we just need to do a sensible thing, really. So please keep the questions coming. Oh, there you go. That's lucky. Right, to confirm, there will still be online lessons on Teams as from Wednesday next week for Year 7. So yeah, the Year 7s will be the last ones to come and join us. So Wednesday of next week, the Year 7 will still have live lessons, and Thursday and Friday. And then once they go back, the week begin the 15th from the 8th. They're all live in class, of course, but they're not virtual. It'll be back to normal as well. So yeah, hope that helps. Oh, I got one right, yeah, given it. Yeah. Anything else we can help with, do ask away.
Just a few points. It is worth noting, same as before, if there is a positive case, the close contacts will still need to self-isolate for 10 days. So as before Christmas, if we identify a positive case, we will have to identify those pupils who have been in close contact, and the guidance is that they have to self-isolate at home for those 10 days. Hopefully that won't be a problem that we have too much of, but it is inevitable that we will probably have.
Yeah, we will. That's a good point. Normally it's about 80 people on average. I mean, we may be overly cautious, but I make no apologies for that. It's not going to be the case where we have one case and the whole year group has to go. That was because we were in an area of particularly high infection rate, and we were told to do that, and we did it. We are hoping that we're not going to get back to that stage, and we certainly don't want to be planning to make a decision to close the school. But again, we have to be sensible, because there will be an increase in cases, as I've said. So we need to be doing the right thing to keep everybody as safe as possible. Right. So no live lessons Monday and Tuesday for Year 7. That is right. So for the entire school, Monday and Tuesday of next week, 8th and 9th of March, no live lessons going on throughout the school for all year groups. No live lessons at all.
However, it's worth noting, work is still being set.
Yes.
So work still will be. They don't get 2 days.
Oh.
There is still work on Teams. The work will be set under their assignments. So if it's a PowerPoint that's normally presented in a live lesson, all of those resources will still be there, and there will still be tasks, and the expectation is still that pupils complete it. It's just not live for that Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, it just won't be as good, quite frankly, for those couple of days. And I know lots of schools have done that, but yeah, hopefully the live lessons have proved really beneficial to our youngsters, and probably for your sanity too. Having spent a morning home with no youngsters going between 3 laptops trying to work out maths I haven't done for well over 30 years, that was quite stressful for about 2 hours. Whereas hopefully this is just sit there, you tune in, ask the member of staff or teacher if you're not sure. You've got the breaks, sort of 10 minutes at the beginning, 10 minutes at the end to turn the work in. So to move around and what have you. Hopefully that's been really, really good, because that was one thing that we really wanted to do from the start, but we needed to get everybody with the devices and the technology and trained up and used to it as well. So the information I'm getting, that's been very well received. So the engagement's been really good. Actually, could always be better, but we're in the 80% for engagement. And what we mean by engagement is it's not turning up and then sticking the camera off and doing nothing. It's actually producing work that is of an acceptable standard for that member of staff that then gets turned in. So we're quite pleased about that. And what we didn't want to have huge gaps when the youngsters return. Not going to be perfect, but we think we're doing a good job here. Right. For any child that has to isolate or has a positive result, will they continue to work in one team? Yes. So what we're going to do, if it's COVID related, what we will do is the work in class will still be taught via Teams as if. So I'll be sat, say, because I still teach, so I've got my 28-year 8 history class sat in front of me there, and there can be 2 isolating. So everything will be done through Teams. So I've got the big whiteboard behind me there, I'll be teaching, and I'll go around, I'll talk to the kids and go, right, have you got that? So you need to do that, make sure you work on that. Ask in the chat if there's any problems, thanks very much. You lot, shut up and get on with that. And we'll do it that way. So it's a bit more of a pain for staff, but that's just tough, quite frankly. They have to get on with it. The main thing is that we're not missing out on education. That's only if it's COVID related. Not if I don't fancy popping in today, I'll pretend I've got COVID, so I get 10 days in bed. Don't think so. But this is just so we can continue with that education. And all schools have to do that legally as well. The education still has to be quality, be it in class or remote, not necessarily live, but that's the way we're going to do it, just to make it better. But let's hope nobody gets it. And then we haven't got to do this all the time when we're going back between two things.
Teaching.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably start crying halfway through. That's a normal lesson for me anyway. So yeah, that's where we're up to there. So please do keep the questions coming. There's not much Nick doesn't know.
I'm not sure about that. Just with regards to the home test, the way we're envisaging this, and I said we will write to you with further details, is that when pupils complete their 3rd and final test, we will issue them the first set of home tests. We're told that there are approximately between 6 and 7 tests per box. So that should see them 3 weeks into the summer term. And then, as I think Mr. Wright mentioned, we're going to organise perhaps a period 5 to distribute the next set of tests. Yep. So we have got plans to do that moving forward. Just feeling sorry if I wasn't clear on the live lessons.
So no live lessons on Monday and Tuesday of next week, 8th and 9th, for anyone. Then live lessons will continue after that. They may be in school by that stage, or they may still be at home. So work will be set on Teams for Monday the 8th and Tuesday the 9th. The rest of the lessons will be live, either remotely if your year group isn't due back yet, or actually physically in the building. Apologies if that wasn't clear. I thought it was, but obviously it wasn't. So that's where we're up to there. Oh, that's okay. Nick, anything else from you?
I don't think so.
Because you can talk for England, quite frankly.
As I said, you should receive, for those of you who have joined us, you should receive in the next couple of days the appointment time for your child with regards to next week and their first test appointment. We have booked them in terms of tutor groups, so all tutor group will have a set period. As I said, there is limited flexibility there because it is tight trying to get all of these pupils through. So as I said, and that will be the same time at the same day for the following 2 weeks as well. But you will receive later text messages. The way it will work is that the pupil will have that test, you'll receive the result, and then within an hour of receiving the result, you will receive another text message reminding you of their next test time and day. So you'll receive that information just so you know when they're expecting that test.
Sounds quite good, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it is just making it easy for you. It's a complete pain for us, quite frankly. I think we've discovered that we are another branch of the NHS through no fault of them, because so my sister's a nurse, they're doing great stuff. You just get that phone call. So yeah, just doing a live Q&A to parents. All right, cheers, bye. Happens, it's live, you see, it proves we're live. But yeah, hopefully that would help there. But so any other questions, please do keep them coming, because otherwise we are just going to sit here and waffle and you will get bored, quite frankly. So we've got any jokes?
Oh, my jokes are poor.
Yeah. Mine are probably not appropriate, so I don't think we'll do that. So we'll just wait there.
As Mr. White mentioned, we do realise that pupils are probably going to be apprehensive, particularly next week when they're first coming into school, which is why we decided for them to just come in for their tests and then go home on that first day. And then obviously what they should realise is the following day, all of those pupils, or certainly the majority of pupils who have got consent, have tested negative. So they should take some kind of comfort from the fact that we have tested the majority of the pupils. And staff are testing twice a week as well.
Yeah.
So we have been doing that on our school site, but soon staff will be testing at home twice weekly. So we are trying to aim to kind of protect the school community as much as we possibly can.
That's what it's about. I mean, if they are concerned about anything, do get in contact with us or the heads of year or something like that, and we'll try and help out. When they do come back into the first week proper, if you like, when they're all back from the 15th, they will go to the areas that they were at before. So it's the hard standing areas that they will go to, and we will. The video is pretty much going to go through that as well.
Yep.
And what we will look to do after Easter, we'll go back to the original plan from September, and they'll be on designated areas on the field. So, because it's a bit dry and there's a bit more space. So, I think members of staff are happy at that, walking out in high heels. I think the ground's a little bit soft at the moment. So, yeah, from after Easter, it'll be on the fields. When we come back, the hard standing areas as it was before it broke up.
Pupils will continue as well in lessons. When the lessons are finished, the pupils, the teacher will spray the desk. The pupils are still expected to wipe the desks down, wipe their chairs down, just obviously to secure that safety around the school. If they can bring their own stationery, that's always helpful.
Yeah,
we try to avoid any kind of cross-contamination. So please encourage them to bring their own stationery with them.
Yeah, we do, and gradually release them from the classes as well. We've got slightly staggered breaks and lunch times and what have you, as well as leaving individual classes. Staff stand at the door and gradually release them. I know originally there were a couple of kids took some pictures of crowded corridors and things like that. That was massively unhelpful, quite frankly. And if you think you've got a good way of getting 1,600 pupils to socially distance throughout the day, then you let me know, and we'll see what we can do. But they have been tested twice a week, the vast majority of them, and they are in bubbles. So, and everything I read is about schools are safe and what have you. But as I've said, we are going to get cases. As I said, the more you test, the more cases you're going to get. It's a lot of averages. Yeah. But we know what we're doing, and we wouldn't do anything that's going to put our youngsters in jeopardy. But our youngsters have got to take some responsibility as well. We're not going to mollycoddle them. We're not going to baby them. You know, they need to grow up a little bit and realise actually it's all of us have to take a role to play in this. That includes if they turn up, I haven't got a mask. Well, why haven't you got a mask? Because this has been going on for about a year. And quite frankly, you can't go into any shops then. So why have I got to spend thousands of pounds on you lot because you can't be bothered to bring a mask? So that does irk me quite a bit because I'm spending an awful lot of money and I can't spend them on educating your youngsters. I've got to spend them on kids that can't be bothered to wear a mask. That's right, somebody will give me a mask at school. Yeah, we will, and they will make a call home. And then we'll say, actually, do it again. You know, I need some money off you. That's what we'll do. And it's something that we have to take some personal responsibility. Now, if we all play our parts, then this will have a better outcome and we can get back to normality quicker. If we think we're, immune to it and we can do what we like, well, then, there's going to be some consequences that unfortunately people are going to fall ill. That's the last thing we want, because all we want to do is educate the youngsters, is give them a fantastic experience here. So when they leave us after 5 years, they talk well of us, having had a great time, got some fantastic results, and they go on and go on to bigger and better things and make a positive contribution to society. That's what we want. So we all need to be playing our part. So I'll get off the soapbox now. Got a bit annoyed there for a moment. But keep the questions going. What we'll do, we'll give it another couple of minutes. If there aren't any questions after a couple of minutes, we will bid you farewell because my voice is going. And Nick, I don't want to listen to Nick much longer. So we'll give another couple of minutes, but you can feel the 2 minutes, Nick, because you've got something to say, haven't you?
Always. Just to let you know, obviously PE lessons will continue as normal. If pupils have PE period 1 or period 5, they're welcome to come to school in their PE kits.
Well, period 1 is come to school in your PE kit, so it saves you getting changed twice, but you will be changed for period 2 back in your full school uniform. Period 5 is just that you can go home in your PE kit. So, but you would, periods 1, 2, 3, and 4, you'd still be in your normal uniform, basically. Then periods 5, you go. So it's not a case of if you've got PE coming all down your PE kit. No, we're not doing that because it looks a mess. It's unnecessary. We only did that when we were having exams. So we're not planning on having that as a normal sort of matter of course or anything like that. Plain masks have to be black on. I've got no problem. Any colour's fine. And the reason I've said plain is because I know there's some fancy ones with sort of teeth on and faces and comedy and whatnot. Well, I don't want the face coverings to be a distraction from learning. I don't want to spend the first 10 minutes going, we've got a nice face mask. Where'd you get your face mask? Oh, that's lovely. How much was that? I don't care. Quite frankly, I care about teaching and learning. So we've said plain, not bothered about the colour. As long as it's plain, so it doesn't detract from the business that we're trying to get on with. So I'm not being funny. I'm just, pink and flowers. Oh man, just plain. Don't forget the flowers. Just do plain. Forget the flowers. Just plain is good. Plain is good. Otherwise, you get, what flower was that? Does that come from this country? Can I sniff your mask? Is it a real flower? No, you can't. So it just prevents all that unnecessary frivolity, of course, that we've got there. Right, will the school at NHS provide any letters as proof for employment if we have to isolate? Nick?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know.
That's what I asked you.
I don't know. I mean, we certainly can confirm that we've asked the school, the pupils to self-isolate.
If you need anything,
we can
do a letter, letterhead up and sign it. That's not a problem at all. If that's something you need, absolutely fine. It might be quicker coming from us. I know the NHS are snowed under. We don't want to add to their burden. They've done a great job. But if you need that, go through the head of year first of all, potentially, and we can get something for you. Not a problem at all. If you need it, we'll be more than happy to help. That's just £10 a letter. It's not joking. I'm not a doctor surgery. So I'll tell you what, £10 won't cover a day in this place and masks. We give that. I'll just calm down.
Sorry.
What's the matter with you? Yes, it will help out. But anything else? Anything else have we got? Yeah.
We offer a good deal.
Yeah, not bad. It's quite, I quite like it. I might come more often. Let's see if we can get there. You're welcome. Yeah, so we'll give it another couple of minutes. Any last thing we can help with, please do put them in the chat. I hope it's been useful tonight. We do try and, be as upfront and informative as we can. I know you've had countless letters from me and from us, but there'll come a point where I'll stop writing. Don't worry. But we're not there yet because we want to give you enough notice and to make sure that you know what's going on. So we have time to communicate with you, and you have time to come back to us if there are any questions or issues. So we aren't perfect. We can't resolve every issue, but we certainly work hard for you, and we work hard for our youngsters as well, just to make sure that we do things what we think with the best interests at heart, which is our kids. It's as simple as that. If there isn't anything else, Nick, have we got anything else that you'd like to share? No. I think we'll probably bid you farewell then. Oh, hang on. Oh, that's a close one. Oh, yeah. Right, for any child who has to isolate, will the work on Teams be in the format of live lessons? So maybe you didn't get one before. Essentially, how it would work is they would still be live lessons only if having to isolate or if obviously contracted, unfortunately, COVID. It will be the same as it is now. It'll be live lessons. So I'll be sat there or stood there. There's my class in front of me. I'll teach you there. Then I'll turn around and I'll do a bit on Teams that's live there. So your youngster will still be able to ask questions. And then we'll be backwards and forwards. So it'll still be live, but they'll be at home. The kids will be in the class. We'll multitask because we're awesome at that. Lunchtime, do they have certain lunchtimes? The same lunch times as they were before. So nothing's changed. And that'll be on the video too, right?
That is, yeah. So year 7 go for lunch at 1 o'clock. Year 8 go at 1:10. And you've got year 9, year 10, and year 11 go at 1:20. But they take their lunch from different points within the school to ensure that those bubbles are maintained. It just means that our young years have a little bit more time to get their lunch because they tend to be a little bit slower.
Yeah, especially on chicken day.
Chicken and chips
Friday. God, yeah. The amount of chickens we have to slaughter to get up and running. Unbelievable. Well, I can't talk about that for legal reasons. Anything else we got coming through then? It's a slight delay time. Yeah, school dinners still happy yet. We'll still provide hot food for our youngsters that have been in. We'll still be providing hot food for them every day as well. So yeah, I don't know what the menu is. Don't ask me that.
Chicken chips on Friday.
That's all I know.
Roasting Wednesday.
Yeah, just whatever's left with it. Yeah, so hot food still provided every day, but we're still going to ask them to eat it outside. I know some people are upset. I say, why do we have to eat outside? Well, because it's safer. And they're there in the open air, and we can get our youngsters through quicker as well. So we're not impinging on any more learning time. So we could get them all sat then, absolutely. If you want a 2-hour lunch break and want to finish at school at 4:30. Personally, I don't. And this is safer, and I think staff would appreciate that too. So 40 minutes we can get them through They just need to be sensible and, you know, take it outside, basically. If you've got to stand up and eat your food, I can't remember last time I sat down and ate my lunch, so yeah, I'm died yet. So, right, no problem, pleasure. I think we're almost there. What I'll do, I'll start saying a very slow goodbye, and then somebody will quickly type something, and I'll go from there. So, Nick, anything else? I think we've probably about reached,
just if you've got any questions, please feel free to email me.
Yeah, or me, we will respond. You've got the heads of view, of course. We'll try and respond as quick as we possibly can, because we know it's a difficult time at the moment. But we're here, and we'll do all we can. So please do let us know. I think it just leaves me to say, probably reached a natural end there. Thank you ever so much for your questions and your time tonight. We really, hope you found it useful. We really appreciate you joining us, because otherwise it would be quite embarrassing, me and you sitting talking to a camera. It was like one of my lessons, quite frankly. I've had more feedback, which is great. So thank you all. Pleasure. We're all in this together. We'll keep working hard, as a community, and we'll get there together. So thank you. Stay safe, and we're very much looking forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. See you later.